Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're keeping along with the theme of Electric Week, or Electric 2 Weeks, Savannah, whatever it is. We got a lot of electric cars in and kind of want to bring this one to light. It's the 2023 Ioniq 6 Limited long range, and we're excited to finally get them in. There's been a lot of press about them. Once again, this is not going to be a technical, every nut and bolt, what you should know, It's really going to be about, hey, we got it. I drove it for 2 days now, and here's what I like, what I don't like, what I think they could have changed, what I think they could have stayed the same. So let's get into it. First things, this is a totally from the ground up design. This is not a vehicle that existed before. So this is basically the sedan version of what we've talked about, the Ioniq 5. We've done the GV60. We'll do a G80 in just a little while. But this is really, when you talk about design, you get a lot of takes and a lot of looks in this sedan that I don't know if Hyundai was going after on purpose, but they kind of created. Front, when we talk about the grille, you're gonna notice that a lot of things have these dots. And basically there's 6 dots. We'll see them present in certain places, in the LEDs and the mirrors, and we'll talk about them in a second. One thing that I want to point out about this front end that I think is really beautiful now versus in the old is the actual Hyundai logo. It's raised slightly, if you can see, but it is sunk into the actual bumper instead of that high rise, real gloss finish. They did a really good job, what I think, kind of making it almost flush to the lower bumper. And then you have those angles that come out straight down. The camera is sunk into the black of the bumper instead of sticking out, overhanging. It's just in a great spot. And then again, you get that flare of the lower fairing as well. Inside the bumper is hidden in black. I think it's a lot better that they did it in black instead of white. Are the sensors for the front parking, front collision. And you get that wrap around, obviously air vent, and then wrap around bumper finish that I think is great with the hints of black. You come down to the fender and to the wheels and the tires, just a great tire and wheel package, just I think with the polished black and then the aluminum alloy. I think they did a really good job. We've talked about in the past about Genesis design of wheels versus maybe Hyundai and other brands. And I really think that Hyundai hit it out of the park with the design for this Ioniq 6 and the rim and tire package. Low profile, obviously. Come around, glass slanted up, perfect. I think it's a really good design into the actual same glass. When you start the roof panel, you'll see the dots again in the mirror. Just a theme that they kind of put in. It's their kind of logo for the Ioniq 6. Door handles again sunk in. Push button handles, mirrors unfold. We move around and start to see that slope of the roof into that kind of sports sedan look. I did open the sunroof. It is a full power sunroof, glass top. If that's closed, you'll be able to see that line a little bit better. But you see that contour of the door with the accent window in the back with the seamless kind of rear door. Still a big rear door. So we'll get into the room inside. If you can notice how big this piece of glass and window is. So it is a nice size sedan, plenty of room inside, and we'll talk about that with the concave of the roof, still plenty of headroom inside as well. Now we get to one of the most interesting parts of the car that I think was just fantastic in the design, in the look that they were going towards. If you see kind of this side profile, you get a hint of just a couple, again, of the lights. You get that slope with that big, huge rear spoiler. I'm gonna use the word Porsche-esque. I know everybody's gonna say, no, it isn't, but as you move around, you're gonna see this area here from the back view does give you that appearance of some type of a Porsche rear end. Again, we talk about the logo, sunk almost flush into the paint. You've got a solar panel on top of the rear spoiler. I love the grooves, all of those actual lines look great. The LED brake light is inside this rear spoiler. And then again, we dip down to all of those angles. You got another lip spoiler on the trunk, camera sunk in. And if you'll notice on a white car, they actually made the button white. So just a little different contrast. This entire light bar, I'll turn the lights on in just a second so you can see that lit up, and then the brake light as well. And then we come down to a little bit of a lip and then down to the bumper. One thing that I like is kind of this overlay where the license plate is, it's sunk in as well, instead of being flush out here. I just think this whole rear end has that look. You get down to the reverse lights, they're sunk down here. Again, notice everything are just those kind of square little patterns, those dots. And again, in the rear brake light. Ioniq 6 is written inside of this glass piece. What a great place to put actually the name and model of the car. And then again, wrapping around, tail lights sunk in to the bumper, right? And then again, all of these accents and all of these designs. I did not mention the side traffic alerts as well in the bumper. And then in the rear, charging. Since it's locked, you have to hit the key and hit unlock. And then just push on that. Again, if you'll notice when I close this, real quick, this is actually the levels that the car is charged. It's 2 out of 3 bars fully charged right now, so you can see it inside as it's charging. Just to close, push the button. You'll notice again, 6 dots on the cover that you open up for charging. It's just a theme that they've put in. I'm not sure what the 6 dots represent. If anyone knows, please drop it down in the comments. Okay, a couple of things about the seats. The design, again, you see the dots inscripted into the back. What an aggressive looking headrest. It's really neat. Fits the profile of the seat. Both driver and passenger come with power. To me, those knobs look a little basic. They're just all the same. I know that maybe that's what they went for so that it does aesthetically look right. Not a lot of movement in the seat. You cannot move these bolsters to tighten them or loosen them. And the concave of the seat, this width is a little bit narrower than in the Ioniq 5. The reason for that is obviously this console jets all out and you can't fit that wide cushion. You'll notice also in the Ioniq 6 that there's not that added leg support that you can pull out or push in. So basically this is as long as the seat goes. Okay, so a couple of things that stand out. Screens flat across, dual monitors. Very colorful, very easy displays. It's a little bit different than the Ioniq 5. I remember the Ioniq 5 separated a little bit and it's a little bit jetted out instead of full seam across. The design of the dash itself, you got ambient light that runs behind actually this line you can see that is interchangeable. You can't change the colors. There's also, Savannah, if you look at your door, there's a hidden light down below that reflects on that kind of wavy door upholstery, if you can see it. That can be changed as well. And again, you notice for some reason on the steering wheel, there's 4 dots. So 6 minus 2 is 4. I don't know if that means something, but anyway, very, very easy steering wheel to grab and hold. There's multiple positions. I really like how the steering wheel has a little bit of flatness around the bottom so that you can rest your hands under or over instead of that roundness and they're always sliding. Great places to grip. There's a little inset here for your actual hands and fingers, 10 and 2. We haven't talked about that in a while, new drivers. 10 and 2. For your thumb actually sits on there and gives you that kind of control. One thing that I don't like, start button is here. I think that's fine. This is a little confusing for the Air, I found, with touch instead of the buttons that toggle up and down for temperature. It was sometimes I had to look down to make sure where I was on, what I was on. It was a little bit different than just having one of these nice, beautiful toggle buttons that you could do the temperature. But you don't see either that shift that we've talked about in the Genesis. It is actually hidden here, which is somewhat easy and somewhat difficult. And I'll say it's easy for this way. To go forward, you're going into drive. That's pretty simple, right? We're going forward, so we push it forward. To go in reverse, you're going backwards, you push it backwards. Screens light up, it's got all the cameras as well. To go into park, you just push park. But to see visually where you are, you gotta look through the steering wheel. And there is a chance that we got in the car and we were talking and I didn't know what we were in. I'd have to look up here at the dash to see where we are. I just think people might get out of the car, which it will go into park if you do that, without actually remembering if they put it in park or drive or where they are. Center console, I'm not a fan at all. Several reasons. There is no cover for the cup holder. You can't close that. It's just open. So I didn't like that design. I don't also like that it's not offset. It's one in front of the other when there's two cups in here. Again, the angle to have to get this one out if there's something in the back. When they're offset a little, then it's easier for the passenger or driver to get it. I was surprised that there is actually USB up front. There is a charging pad, and Savannah, if you run your hand over this pad, it's actually raised. And when you sit your phone on there, it doesn't stick to hold it. So I thought that was kind of strange that it was raised. Normally in a pocket it sits. I feel like that could have been done a little bit differently. This center console, this is a little tray. I don't know what you would sit there, change, maybe, your vape. If you vape, I know that's where y'all would sit it or up here, I'm not sure. But then the USB-Cs are actually hidden inside the armrest. And by having this plug inside the armrest, this maybe should have been up here because it takes space away from something you would want to sit in here. Not the cords coming out, that's fine, they go right here. But just to be able to sit something on top of that if you had your cord plugged in, I felt like this was a little crowded. Power, same. Drive modes, they're the same. There is no boost button. So GV60 gets my vote for the boost button, right? So I forgot to mention this before with the regenerative braking. You can set the sensitivity in all of these to where it's very strong when you take your foot off of the gas and it gives you kind of that power down real quickly, or you can make it a little bit softer so that it's not as much jerk. I had this one set on high sensitivity, and I did not like the way it drove in town when you took your foot off of the brake. It stops kind of farther back than what you needed. Then I had to put my foot back on the gas. So that's something to get used to, I think, in these electric vehicles. And then you can play with that sensitivity so it's comfortable for you. So I think they hit it out of the park with the design. I think as far as coming on with a sedan, the Ioniq 5 is a little bit more of that crossover. This is a little bit lower to the ground. I did not like the way that the room for the driver and your legs because of this console here, which remember it was open in the GV60 and the Ioniq 5. And then because of where I have to have this seat positioned, this leg just has to sit at this bend. There really is nowhere to put it comfortably. And I don't know what the answer for that is. I do know that the seats aren't as wide as the Ioniq 5, and maybe that's a little bit more of the comfort as well with being able to extend that bottom bolster. So I forgot to mention this before with the regenerative braking. You can set the sensitivity in all of these to where it's very strong when you take your foot off of the gas and it gives you kind of that power down real quickly, or you can make it a little bit softer so that it's not as much jerk. I had this one set on high sensitivity, and I did not like the way it drove in town when you took your foot off of the brake. It stops kind of farther back than what you needed. Then I had to put my foot back on the gas. So that's something to get used to, I think, in these electric vehicles. And then you can play with that sensitivity so it's comfortable for you. So I think they hit it out of the park with the design. I think as far as coming on with a sedan, the Ioniq 5 is a little bit more of that crossover. This is a little bit lower to the ground. I did not like the way that the room for the driver and your legs because of this console here, which remember it was open in the GV60 and the Ioniq 5. And then because of where I have to have this seat positioned, this leg just has to sit at this bend. There really is nowhere to put it comfortably. And I don't know what the answer for that is. I do know that the seats aren't as wide as the Ioniq 5, and maybe that's a little bit more of the comfort as well, with being able to extend that bottom bolster to relieve that pressure on my legs. So overall, let us know what you think. We have this white one, and we just got a silver one in, which is a different package. It's not the long range, but I'm excited to see what takes place, what happens with this car. I'm going to order a charging station myself for the house, because one thing that I've loved over the past week and a half is not even paying attention to what gas prices are and not having to stop. So
must be nice.
It is practical. You can use it. You can drive it. You don't have to look at the kilowatts of what you have left of the charge, and I think it's fantastic. And all of this comes at a suggested manufacturer's retail of $54,165. And pricing wise, comparatively to what we've talked about and what we've seen, it's right in the same wheelhouse as the Ioniq 5. Next video you guys will see is a G80 electric, and those sticker over 81,000. And we'll talk about what's different in that sedan versus this sedan. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment down below.